Hello, everyone. We are so excited to be here today to talk about the virtual common library that we created for our school district. We are a group of occupational therapists, and I would like to introduce us all now. My name is Carol George. We also have three other occupational therapists on this presentation, which you will see later on. There is Julia Harker, Ashley Shapiro, and Allie Thomas. We are all very passionate about mindfulness, and Julia, Ashley, and Allie are all mindful educators. The objectives for our presentation today, Keep Calm and VCL On, is to be able to identify the purpose and benefits of the virtual calming library, which is also called the VCL, to demonstrate how to navigate the VCL, and to utilize the VCL as a tool to help manage emotions and behaviors, being able to apply it in your practice. So let's keep calm and VCL on. What is a virtual calming library? It is a space where students, staff, and families can access various tools and strategies for managing emotions and feelings in a positive way, as well as a place for them to build resilience. The VCL was created in summer 2020, right before the start of the 2020-2021 school year. Myself and three other occupational therapists had all been using mindfulness in the schools. We were doing in-services on mindfulness to various groups of people, such as social workers, school counselors, school psychologists, speech therapists, behavioral intervention specialists, and teachers. We were trying to get the word out about this evidence-based practice that could be used as a tool to address the social emotional needs of our students. The pandemic war was here, and it was presenting many challenges to students, educators, and parents. The stress and uncertainty of the pandemic situation was affecting virtually everybody. We were all getting ready to do remote learning. Parents were wondering, how am I going to work and support my child's education? Educators were wondering how they were going to do digital learning. Students were wondering, how is this school year going to look when all the school buildings are closed, when I'm being asked to do remote learning, and they were going to be isolated from their friends. We wanted to figure out a way to continue with this mindfulness journey we had started. How could we use mindfulness and other calming tools during this remote learning time? I love this saying by John Kabat-Zinn, who is considered the father of mindfulness. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. And that is exactly what we were trying to do with the VCL, teach people to surf. So that is why the Virtual Common Library was created, to create a space where we all could breathe, quiet our minds even just for a moment, to stay calm, rejuvenate so that we could learn. A place virtually to combat the stress, anxiety, and struggle we all were feeling in these unprecedented times. You can see here how much the VCL has been used in the first year. There have been over 8,000 total users and participants from 36 countries, and this was just by spreading the word. We feel that the VCL is an invaluable self-care tool that can continue to be used in the schools and in the home environment, even though many of us have returned to in-person learning. This is a place where we all can go and stay cool in those times of need.
Okay, so here is the bit.ly for the virtual calming library. It is case sensitive, so you may want to write it down or take a snapshot, or you could even pause the recording right now, navigate to the site, and add it to your favorites tab. Next, we'll talk about some of the features on the virtual calming library. So the VCL is divided into these sections here, and then it's further divided into specific sections for pre-K, elementary, secondary students, students in the special education department, and there are videos in Spanish for the many students in our school district that speak Spanish. There are also many activities on the VCL, but we wanted to highlight the breathing exercises, mindfulness activities, movement-based videos, the visual arts and music, as there is data and research to support the effectiveness of these strategies. So here is the Virtual Calming Library's homepage, which gives the purpose behind the VCL and this definition of mindfulness, which is considered the gold standard definition. However, there is a lot to unpack in this definition, and it may not be an appropriate way to explain mindfulness to all of the students that you work with. So we give examples of how to define and explain mindfulness on the homepage in each separate section. And here's our contact information if you have any questions or comments about the site. First, we'll take a look at the staff section. And here you'll see the definition of mindfulness broken down and has a video to further explain what mindfulness is. Under your mindfulness practice, you'll find apps that we recommend, which can be an easy way to begin or continue your mindfulness practice. Here are some activities that you can try, and then tips and tricks to begin your practice. There are a number of websites down here and books to explore with additional information. Remember, you are an important role model of mindfulness to your students, so it begins with you. And we know that you all don't have an easy or stress-free job. So we wanted to include wellness and self-care activities, as we know that physical and mental health are so interconnected. Here you will find links for a variety of self-care activities for school staff and for parents. There are also a number of gratitude practices, which can improve overall happiness. Then additional tips for healthy eating, exercise, sleep, and drinking enough water in an effort to promote overall well-being. And lastly, you'll find resources for your virtual or even your in-person sessions. The CMS Mindful Toolkit has a number of mindfulness activities, which I will show you now. Here, the activities are organized based on these different classifying areas. You'll find instructions on how to use the toolkit here, and there are many mindfulness-based activities, and they include a script and reflection questions and a visual to accompany each one. So again, there are a lot of activities on here. They're all color-coded based on their classifying area, and you can download this resource, print it out for use in the classroom. So there are also a number of mindfulness activities to use in the classroom, as well as some books. And we want to also recommend this relaxing exercises for your eyes, which can help combat eye strain from too much screen time, whether that's from a smartboard, a laptop, a phone, etc. And these self-regulation links will link directly to another part of the VCL, which we will cover later in this presentation. Now we'll take a look at the pre-K section. On the homepage again, you'll find a way to explain mindfulness to this age group and a video to accompany that definition. Under breathing exercises, there are a variety of videos to teach and promote deep breathing. This is such an important skill to teach this age group, as they don't know how to take deep breaths on their own. Therefore, a visual is usually helpful. And I will play one of our favorites, which is the fish breathing. And you can make this full screen here. So again, it gives that visual to inhale and exhale deeply, which is really important to learn how to breathe deeply. So you can play these videos straight from here. You can make them full screen, and there are a lot of different songs and videos to accompany deep breathing for pre-K activities. Next, we'll look at the mindfulness tab. With this age group, a mindfulness practice begins by exploring the 5 senses. So you'll find videos associated with this, including mindful listening. Like here, what do you hear? So they're listening for different animal sounds or different noises that they may recognize. It's also important for this age group to learn and identify simple emotions as a part of mindfulness. So you'll find videos on that as well. Under the movement tab, you will find a variety of videos that are popular with this age level to help get their wiggles out. I know the dance and freeze, like the animal dance and freeze here, is really popular with some of the kids that we work with. Under the music and sounds tab, you will find videos for music and for songs that are associated with mindfulness or that are relaxing with age-appropriate visuals. This can be used during quiet time or to create a calm environment within the classroom. This tab includes resources for coloring and drawing, which is a great mindfulness activity because it helps to relax the brain's fear center. The resources are both virtual and there are access to printables like the printable mandalas and printable coloring pages that can be used in the classroom. And the books tab is one of my personal favorites as it contains books and stories about mindfulness, and that's such a powerful way to explain this practice. There are a lot of different books to talk about breathing and to talk about identifying emotions. And I will show you a snippet from Alpha Breaths here. This is a really fun video. I like that one because you can see actual kids and that looks like it's a pre-K setting practicing that kind of breath movement. And then under the resources tab, you'll find books and videos and apps for adults that work with this age group or for parents. So you will find that each section is organized in much the same way. So next we'll look at elementary. And again, on the home page, you'll see ways to explain mindfulness to this age group and different videos to help explain it. And again, you'll find breathing exercises and mindfulness exercises in here. We'll go ahead and look at the movement. There are a lot of movement activities on here, but we wanted to add in calming videos. And this can help decrease a student's energy level and get them ready to learn. And we also included some energizing and brain break videos. So be mindful when you want to use an energizing or a calming movement break. The Music and Sounds tab has a variety of different videos that could be played during independent academic times or at the beginning or end of day to promote smooth transitions into and out of school. And again, you'll find mindful coloring and drawing and books here as well. And we added the visual relaxation tab to the elementary page, as these videos may be beneficial to create a calm and relaxing environment within the classroom. And guided imagery can be beneficial to calm the body and brain and manage anxiety, and you'll find a variety of them right here. I especially like my favorite place. A lot of kids like to talk about that. and it's easy to visualize. We also added the journaling tab under elementary. This can be a great mindfulness activity as it can help sharpen attention, focus on positive thoughts, and help turn our attention inward. Here are a number of links for journaling prompts and printables that can be used as well in the classroom setting.
All right, so now we're going to move on to our secondary section. This section contains materials that are appropriate for our middle and high school students. And the homepage is similar to our other homepages. It has some blurbs and a video that are helpful in explaining mindfulness to this age group. And as Ali said, the subsections are very similar to our previous sections. So I just want to highlight a few differences and some favorites. So starting with brain games, this is a new section here. And then here you're going to find a link to various types of brain games, and they're all virtual. These activities are great for our older students to engage their brains in new ways while practicing focus and attention and thus mindfulness without stressing. And they're also great for breaks. And then moving on to our mindfulness tab, something I would like to highlight here are a few videos by LeBron James. It's awesome to have him on here because he's very relatable and a lot of the kids look up to him. So the first two up here at the top, he's kind of explaining two concepts, managing emotions and the champion's mindset. And then a little further down, we have him actually practicing mindfulness as well. So here we're going to play it just for a quick second. It's actually only 30 seconds long. And it's great because now the kids can practice alongside someone they look up to. So they can see modeling, just taking a deep breath, being calm and focusing for a moment. That one's a hit amongst some of our older boys too. Then moving into the movement section, these activities are a little bit different than the ones we've seen before. Here we have some age-appropriate movement-based activities. They're all videos as well. And they're great to activate and engage the mind and body together. And they also provide a way to increase circulation as our older students do sit a little bit more. And something awesome about them as well is they can be done in tight quarters. We know space gets a little tighter in our middle and high school classroom. And then the last thing in this section I want to point out is under visual relaxation. Here we have some really great mindful minute options. They're down towards the bottom. And these are great because they provide prompts for deep breathing while also providing a serene and calming visual for the students to focus on. Almost there. Yeah, we have raindrops, snow, and the island. So you can fluctuate between these and you can do them briefly as transitions whenever you need them throughout the day. We love them because they're a little bit shorter. And also some of the longer videos are great to put on during transitions in and out of the classroom. So while students are arriving to the classroom, help them get settled in as they arrive. So those are some of the main differences in the secondary section. And then moving on to our special education section, we created this area for our students in the separate setting classrooms. And again, you'll find the blurbs and a video to help explain mindfulness to these students. And in looking at the sections here, you'll see a lot of similarities. The main thing to be aware of is that this whole section covers a very large age group. And so it's really important to kind of know your students and their cognitive and developmental level and using those to pick out which videos and activities are most appropriate for them. And a lot of the videos and activities can be very easily modified to suit the needs of your students. So I'll show y'all an example of that under mindfulness. Here we have a lot of sensory-based activities engaging all of the senses. And one that I particularly love is the I See Something Blue video. And so here we'll watch a brief moment of this video. Oops, there we go. Maybe. And so, here we go.
Blue. I see something blue. Blue. I see something blue. Blue, 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 blue. I see something blue. Find something blue.
So I love this video because it offers visuals and auditory cues and repetition, and then it gives the student a chance to look around, and now they're looking for something blue. And something also cool that you can do with these videos is you can take them into other settings. So something I like to do is use the same concept while I'm walking in the hallway with a student and transitioning with a student who might have a hard time transitioning, or maybe being in the hallway gives them anxiety. I can say, hey, let's look for something blue. We tried this in the classroom, let's do it out here. And it also doesn't have to be with colors. Maybe you're working on letters or numbers or objects or whatever's most accessible for that student. So that's a great way to incorporate little mindfulness activities throughout the day. And then the last thing I want to point out is under visual relaxation. I've noticed that this section is most commonly used in my special education classrooms. The teachers love using these videos during quiet times or as calming breaks. We have so many different options here. And usually the students find some that they love the most. One of my classrooms really loved this campfire one, and it just made the classroom so cozy and comforting. And they would put it on after recess and everyone would just have a nice calming break. But there are a lot of different visuals on here that the students love to focus on as well. So that kind of covers some of the highlights in the special education section. And again, there's a ton of information and materials in here similar to the previous sections as well. And moving into the parents section, this section was originally created for our parents of remote learners, but everything in this section remains very relevant and helpful for parents to use with their students before and after school or during homework times. So the first section is on home calming corners. Lots of classrooms have calming corners, and a lot of parents want to incorporate these at home. So here we have some resources that really just help get the ball rolling, providing examples of things that parents can do at home, but everybody's will look different depending on the space they have and the materials they have available. It's just most important that the child knows that they have a space that's safe where they can go to recognize emotions, regulate emotions, and just feel their feelings. So that's that. Alternative home seating is next. And here we have assortment of different types of alternative and flexible seating that can be purchased or made DIY style. And these are great to just provide some different ideas for ways to support your student. Using alternative seating is great because it offers different types of sensory input, and it can be regulating depending on the student's needs. So there are tons of different options there. Our next is also a DIY section for calming tools, and we have a lot of ideas here and videos linked to how to create these items at home. And so these items are great to help your students calm down, to focus, to pay attention to their senses, and engage in other ways. And they can also be great for transitions as well. So tons of options in here. And moving into emotional check-ins. This section is full of visuals and some videos to help explain how to use check-ins. And these help our students learn to identify and gain awareness of their emotions. And it also helps them then communicate how they're feeling to their parent. So we also have some videos down here to help the students understand their emotions and facilitate the process of identifying their emotions. And then the last one is zones of regulation and the 5-point scale. So this kind of piggybacks on that. Zones of regulation and our 5-point scale are great resources that are also geared towards helping students understand their emotions and their level of alertness in terms of zones or where they're falling on a scale. And it helps them learn how they can move from one zone to the other to be in an optimal place for learning. And again, here we have some videos to help explain the two different tools to parents and also to students, and the visuals that you can print out and use with your students. And then our last section is our Spanish section. And here we have some videos that can be used with our Spanish speaking population. And they're all linked here. So we did it. We walked through the whole VCL, and now Julia is going to go into some ways that we can start incorporating these tools and strategies into our day-to-day, into our classrooms, and into our treatment sessions.
Thank you, Allie and Ashley, for your detailed overview of the VCL. There are so many activities and tools on the VCL, and it's a little overwhelming to know where to start. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we can use this with our students, how we can use this in our practice, in our classrooms, and with our teachers. We're all very busy with our schedules. We have lots of students to see, lots of schools to be in, lots of classrooms. So one way that we can start using the VCL is to build it into our routines and our schedules. We all know that once we start to do an activity over and over, it becomes a habit, and we can build it into our routines. So that's a good place to start, is just pick one activity and build it into your day. One other way is to try using the VCL as a warm-up or a preparatory activity for your sessions. So a lot of our students are busy throughout their days and don't have a moment to stop and pause and check in with their emotions and how they're feeling. So this is an excellent way to kind of get them to slow down and check in. Try it as an ending activity in your session. So to calm down before returning to class or transitioning. To use it just as, again, as a moment to pause and check in. Try it with a whole class or a small group. I've used the VCL with a whole class and kind of modeled to teachers how to use this tool, and they've all been very appreciative, and they think it's really neat, and the students like it, and they keep asking for activities. So if you can try it in a classroom, I know your teachers will appreciate it. And always make it fun. So these activities are meant to kind of bring calm, as Carol mentioned, just give us a time to quiet our minds and rejuvenate so that we can all be learning and happy. So overall, we want you to use this VCL as a tool to, for your students to have fun and get some calm in their lives. Okay, so the VCL, we want to get it out there. We want to share it. We want to share it with our families, with our staff members, with our classrooms and our schools. So one way is to encourage your families to use the resource at home. You may want to send an email to the students that you work with, or send, maybe a mailing home in their backpacks, or give the parents a call if you know a family who really would benefit from using some of these tools at home. Encouraging our colleagues to use this. As Carol mentioned, we have in CMS, we have people that are using this, including speech therapists and counselors, psychologists, behavioral techs. So we want you to encourage your other colleagues and staff to be using this as well. Speech therapists to use it with their groups, counselors to use it in their sessions. It's an easy adjunct to go along with the social emotional learning that we have been focusing on this year after the pandemic. And then present to your school staff. If you go to staff meetings, some of us may not go to staff meetings, but if you wanted to speak to your admin about potentially presenting about the VCL and getting it out there so that your teachers are comfortable using it and know about it and know what a wonderful tool it can be for their classrooms and helping them to manage their own stress throughout their day. And again, some other ideas is adding it to the school website or emailing your school staff about the link, encouraging Mindful Mondays or doing a morning announcement, and recommending mindfulness as a special in your school. Carol has a school where they turned mindfulness into a special, just like art or PE, which I think is so neat and so needed right now in kind of the world that we're living in. We all have a lot of underlying stress and anxiety, so it's a wonderful way to teach the children how to be able to calm and breathe and be present. And then recommending, again, I mentioned this before, but recommending this during the social emotional times. Our schools have implemented social emotional time into the daily schedules. So if your teachers know that this tool is available, it's a really easy way to kind of get the students engaged and to always have an activity that you don't have to plan ahead of time. So how can we help the teachers use the VCL? I've mentioned a few things already, but one thing is to be a role model. If the teachers see you using it, You show them in the classroom how easy it is to use the VCL. They may be more interested and curious to figure out what you're doing and want to try it themselves. And then using it as a tool for classroom management. So again, we all have seen students that have difficulties with emotional regulation and anger management, and just understanding what's going on in the world around them. So this is a great tool for classroom management. So if we know our students are stressed or anxious, especially on the first couple of days of school, this is a tool that's already out there. It's free and accessible to anyone to use. Encourage it again to be a part of their social emotional curriculums, and then also encourage them to use it at key times of the day. So a lot of teachers will use it at the very beginning of the day when the students are all arriving and they're loud and they're busy, and just to kind of settle them down to get started. Before school, after lunch, before dismissal, and then at transition times are all really great times to use the VCL in your classroom. And then when should you use each tool? It's important to recognize what your students or your classroom might need. Certain activities and tools in the toolkit, or excuse me, in the VCL are not always going to be, the right thing at the right time. So if you can recognize that your classroom may need an energizing activity versus a calming activity, that will help you kind of differentiate which tool you would like to use. For instance, you want to use the breathing exercise for calming or recentering. So if they've come back from lunch and they're all excited and everyone's chatty, it's hard to get them, their attention. You might want to try a breathing activity. You may want to use the music and the visualizations during quiet time or work time to kind of create that calm, quiet environment to kind of recenter them and get them grounded. And then there's movement within the areas on the VCL, but there's some that are calming and some that are energizing. So you want to know when it would be appropriate to use either one. And then another example is the journaling or the visual arts portions may be a great thing to use before a test or after a test or between subject changes, just to kind of ground and center and calm their minds. And then how can we adapt this for our students? As OTs and PTs, we know how to adapt and modify activities, but it may not be common sense to your teachers. So a couple of things to remember is first, length. So if you're working with a student in special education or in preschool, you want to reduce the length of activity because of their attention span. But if you're working with a student in the secondary, middle school, or high school, you may be able to do a longer activity or video. And then the language, again, with the younger students and our special education students, you may want to reduce the amount of language that you're using when you're going through some of these tools and activities. And then again, to consider their skill and age to make these activities appropriate for each student. Consider, their cognitive abilities and developmental abilities. One thing that I thought about was I have a student who uses a mouth stick, and there's opportunities for him to do mindful coloring on an iPad because there are some virtual activities that he can access. So thinking about a little bit outside of the box on how to adapt this VCL to your students. And your challenge, we really want to challenge you to explore the VCL. It's so big and vast. There's so many activities. So spend some time, just be curious, look around, see what you like, and pick one or two that maybe you think you could use with your students next week or in your classrooms, or try with anyone that you work with. And I like this quote by Dr. Seuss. It says, "You're off to great places. Today is your day." So just start today. It's really easy, and I think you'll be really happy with the results. Thank you guys again for coming to our presentation, and please contact us with any feedback or questions, and we'd love to hear how you're using the VCL in your school.